Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park, sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
John Mousinho and sporting director Rich Hughes have some tough calls to make as Pompey prepares for life in the Championship this summer. Several players under contract could be shown the door at Fratton Park, even before the club announces its retained list for out-of-contract players. Last week, Mousinho admitted he'll need to be ruthless while building a squad that can compete in the second tier. This means some difficult conversations with fringe players who still have time left on their deals. Players like Riley Towler, Christian Sadie, Abdoulaye Kamara and Paddy Lane, who've struggled for minutes this season, could be among those affected. Sadie brings something different to the team, and it'd be a shame to lose him, but as the squad evolves, you've got to raise standards. We might have to thank him for his service and look ahead, just like the club's done before. There are quite a few contracted players who haven't played much lately. Some might be told that if they get opportunities elsewhere, they should take them. We'd then need to focus on bringing in replacements. Mousinho was upfront about this when discussing the retained list last week, though he naturally kept specific names under wraps. While out-of-contract players are straightforward decisions, those still under contract present a trickier situation. Players like Towler have chosen to stay and fight for their place, despite clearly being out of favour. Besides Towler, Sadie, Kamara and Lane, Tom McIntyre could also move on if the opportunity arises. These players haven't featured regularly, but Cross notes they could still turn things around if they stick it out. Those conversations have already happened, wrapping up by Monday.
If the information that we have at Pompey Sound is anywhere near correct, then there will be a bit of a furore when the names of the players who are going to be released are announced. Because one of them in particular is going to take an awful lot of people by surprise. And again, this is only if the information that we have is correct, but we think it is. Would like to say who it is now for your benefit. But although we feel we have enough to go on to publish this piece of news, we won't do it until the club themselves have made the announcement, and that is purely out of professional etiquette. Frustrating though it is. But what we can say for certain is this, that a couple of the names that were mentioned in that excellent piece back there of people who are under contract still, but will be told that they won't be playing very much next season. So if they want to play, they should consider any offers that are available to them elsewhere. A couple of the names on that list are on the list that we have heard about, but there are a couple of names on that list as well that one of them, I think probably a lot of people would say, yeah, I can see that, it's a shame. Another of the names I think is going to knock people's socks off, frankly. And I note that Rich Hughes and John Mousinho separately earlier this week, Hughes about Thursday or Friday it was of last week, and Mousinho very recently are saying things like hard decisions have to be made. We will not walk away from difficult decisions. Our job is to win games, not friends. People understand why we're taking the decisions that we're taking. It's because we want to move the club forward. We want to raise the bar. But nevertheless, if the announcement is made on Monday, and there seems to be the threat that that is going to be the case, depending on when it's made, and often the media department at Portsmouth, who are very, very adroit at dealing with journalists, who within the business are often referred to as reptiles. It's an unfair comparison, but they seem to sometimes like it because they see themselves as being, reptilian, frankly, on occasions. And the media department at Pompey are very good at providing them with the correct information at the correct time. So this announcement may be made at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday. It will probably be known now to the media team, but they have said it would be ridiculous to release information like this over the weekend. It's a working week thing, so we'll do it sometime Monday to Friday. Monday, if it's confirmed, then we'll do it pretty much to be seen to be ASAP. On occasions, they withhold information like this until the close of play on that day, because if it's controversial, they would find it difficult to deal with all the requests for interviews and clarification that would come flying at them from every corner of of journalism. So our best guess is that shortly after 10 o'clock on Monday morning, the announcement will be made and social media will get quite warm with the people who will want to query some of the decisions and one decision in particular. And there will be quite a handful of people who will say that they wouldn't have done it if they were John Messino. But then they're not, and he is. And as he always says, he's in this to win games, not friends. So as long as we're winning games, then we'll be happy with the way he manages things. Of course. So possibly stay close to your phone on Monday morning till about 10:30. And if nothing has happened by then, stay close to your phone because it might come out at around about 5:30, 5:45 in the evening. But it will be a considerable talking point and you will have your own views on it, dear listener, for sure.
Portsmouth boss John Messino is doubling down on his strategy of targeting under-21 talent, as the club joins the chase for Crystal Palace's promising forward Hindolo Mustafa. The Blues have had great success dipping into Premier League academies, and Messino sees no reason to change course as they plan for life in the Championship. His interest in Mustafa is serious. He's personally scouted the 18-year-old Sierra Leone international at least 4 times. The competition for Mustafa's signature is heating up though. Ajax and Feyenoord have their eyes on the powerful young striker, along with several English clubs. But Portsmouth's track record with young talent could give them an edge. They've already struck gold with under-21 signings like Abu Kamara from Norwich and Alex Robertson from Manchester City, both key players in their League One title win. This season's additions, Marco Mare from Brighton and Harvey Blair from Liverpool, have also impressed. "Look at what we achieved with Abu and Robbo coming from Premier League 2, Messino said. "These academy players are often the cream of the crop. Not all will break through at their parent clubs, which creates opportunities for us." Mustafa continues to turn heads, recently bagging a brace in Palace's 6-0 thrashing of Chelsea's under-21s. The youngster, who was originally spotted by Pompey legend Svetoslav Todorov in Palace's academy, has already made his mark internationally, scoring against Zambia and notching an assist versus Ivory Coast. He'll next feature in Palace's Premier League 2 semi-final against Southampton, giving Messino another chance to assess his target up close.
Like many, we've had a look at this young man on YouTube. There are some bits and pieces, actually quite a comprehensive amount of footage of him playing. And of course, he's playing against under-21s, and so let's call them boys, youngsters. And the fact that he is big and strong does stand out, and he might have some strengthening and growing still to do. But he is an imposing individual. And he does like to carry the ball. We see again and again on YouTube in important big under-21 games, academy games, he carrying the ball forcefully across the halfway line. It's what he likes to do. He likes to burst out from defence, whether he's won the ball himself or has been given the ball. He likes to get going, and he'll travel 30, 40 yards with the ball easily enough, going past people, brushing people off. So he has a presence, but finding your presence on a championship football pitch is very different from finding your presence on an under-21 pitch. Now, Messino likes to build for the future, taking in a lone player who is still quite wet behind the ears. The possibility is that we wouldn't get too much mileage out of him during that first season. Now, if they're thinking about making a purchase, making something permanent with this young man, then that's a different matter. And he then becomes an investment, as not only in financial terms, because the term investment tends to be used mainly in the province of money, but an investment in terms of somebody who may come really, really good, not this season, not next season, but maybe the season after. Then again, if that's the case, we're starting to form a picture of the long-term, medium-term plan of the Eisners, the Messinos, the Rich Hugheses, the Andy Cullens of this world. And that's what we want to know. We're happy with the notion that the club will simply try to avoid being part of a relegation dogfight next season. That doesn't sound particularly ambitious, but considering where we've come from and where we almost were, i.e. nowhere, not that long ago, that is something that we should all be happy about and proud of. But then it will be the season after next that things will start to come into sharp focus. Because I think I'm right in saying, and I'm only guessing, and I hope you agree with me, that the Eisners are such capable people and so successful that their plan will be to be playing football at the highest possible level. And that means doing a Bournemouth or a Brentford and getting up into the Premier League and establishing yourself.
Portsmouth's transfer plans hit a snag this week as Isaac Hayden, the Newcastle United midfielder, looks unlikely to return to Fratton Park following his loan stint. Hayden joined Pompey in January with impressive credentials, having played in both the Premier League and Championship for clubs like Newcastle, Hull City, Norwich and QPR. His signing was seen as a real boost, adding vital experience to Mousinho's midfield during a challenging season. However, things didn't quite work out as planned. Hayden managed just 17 appearances and never really established himself as a regular starter. While he brought valuable leadership to the dressing room, his impact on the pitch wasn't quite what fans had hoped for. As rumours circulate about Hayden's future, Football League World caught up with Don Goodman to get his take on the situation and what it means for Pompey boss John Mousinho. Sure, his experience was helpful for Portsmouth last season, but at 30 years old, he probably didn't get the game time he was looking for, Goodman explained to FLW. 17 games isn't much when you're there specifically to play regular football.
Some people will form the impression that there is some sort of negotiating, wrangling going on with Hayden, even though he has said that he is leaving. He doesn't have anything to go to because Newcastle have made it clear that he's not going to be part of their plans going forward. But he's going back there where he's earning, it's reputed, £40,000, perhaps £50,000 a week, which is nice work if you can get it. But doesn't he want to play? He's only 30. It's no age these days. But perhaps what he's saying is, I want a longer contract so that I can bring my family down here, so that I can relocate down here, knowing that I've got 2 or 3 years down here, which will make a big difference to me personally. But what Pompey is saying back is that you're unlikely to be our first choice holding midfield player because we are looking elsewhere, and no offence, we are looking at players who have better credentials than you, who are that much younger and that much fitter perhaps, or have that much more high-level experience recently than you do. But you will fully understand that because injury crisis and injury crises are the name of the game these days, and holding midfield players are such an integral part of every side, the possibility that we will either have our first choice holding midfield players injured or suspended is high, very high. And we will be calling on players who back in the good old days we used to call the reserves, but not anymore. They're backup. They're close to being first team picks. On occasions they will be first team picks to keep them sharp and keep ring rust at bay. And Hayden did nothing wrong for us and would do nothing wrong for us next season. He's clearly an imposing individual who makes sure that the opposition knows that he's there. He's big enough to win almost everything in the air, and he's quick enough, strong enough and professional enough to know which bit of the grass to stand on to break down attacks and come away with the ball. And there's not much more you can ask of a midfield player. So our suspicion is that we would like to keep him, but we've kind of let him go because we don't want to keep him at all costs, because costs are important with Pompey, and the Eisners are obviously very thorough at scrutinising spreadsheets and checking out the very last digit on a number, even if that number runs to 7 or even 8 numerals. So Hayden, might we see him back at some point, pre-season, and there in the squad, possibly on the bench, on day 1 of next season? We would say it's no less than 50-50.